It is a long journey to hit launch. Seeing the games get in the hands of the gamers is always a real exciting time. You know, even going to press events and watching people who maybe saw games at E3, saw them at Gamescom or Tokyo Game Show, but see the progress that the teams have made, see what a new generation of games feels like, what do they look like, is always, just an incredible time for us as creators, using accessibility and Connect to allow me to either talk or lightweight gesture in games that are controller-based, to really try to bring the best of what console gaming is about, but also include areas that people have learned, influences from other devices, is really important, especially as you think about a life cycle on this console that we expect to last a long time. You want to make sure that you've really set up that console for the long run and making sure you've invested in the right technologies. The creators are always where I believe the innovation comes from, and it's one of the things about being a first party inside of a console, a place where we're building a console and the operating system, that feedback loop between us as creators, the people building the platform and the people building the hardware, in this case servers, and talking about what we might try 2 or 3 years from now and start doing the investigation early to see what actually works. That's what's led to things like Connect. That's what led to Xbox Live. On the question of cloud, I actually think there's an interesting intersection between the ID at Xbox program and cloud, where you get maybe smaller developers that don't have the financial resources to go build their own server farm as they're thinking about games that they might launch that require some level of server capability. And what we're doing is stepping up as a service and allowing them to use the cloud capability behind Xbox One, even for their indie games. The big players, I think, when they look at the cloud technology, they run into the same issues in terms of how do you manage for peak, think about end of life cycle, and having a full server capability with multiple data centers around the globe, even for large-scale publishers, isn't something that all of them are going to invest in. Some will, and some will go and decide to do their own thing in terms of hosting. But the capability that we've put in place to allow developers to choose to use, and you talked about Titanfall and other developers that will step in to use the resources, we think open up possibility for them to manage their business even more effectively. And I think about launch as somewhat of an abnormal part of the process of selling a console, because you have such pent-up demand, millions and millions of people who want to buy a console day one. There's probably no other time in a console life cycle where you'll have such a, the kind of kink in the hose as everybody's waiting to back up to get to that day one. But I think that really the life cycle starts to play out holiday 2, holiday 3. I'm spending a lot of my time right now looking at the games that are coming in 14 and in 15, and making sure that I think we have a really good launch lineup. I think we have a great launch lineup, in fact, the best we've ever had. And I want to make sure that for the gamers that are looking at Xbox One, that commitment to original IP, new blockbusters, smaller games, that our lineup continues to be strong, and that they can rest assured that they're going to have a great set of games coming on Xbox One. Xbox Live is a critical component for us as a brand. You think about Xbox, you think about Xbox Live, you think about Connect, you think about things like Halo. Innovating on Xbox Live on Xbox One was, from day one, something that we knew we had to do. Allowing indie developers to take a retail kit and turn that into a development kit is obviously tied into how the service runs and how that local machine, how it's actually recognized on the service. So we, early on in the program, we said, okay, to unlock all the capability of all these developers you see around the planet, you want to make sure that we've got capability like that. But if we get more to what is a gamer going to care about, and the evolution with dynamic achievements that developers can go in and actually create more time-based achievements, more events around games. The other area I'm really interested in seeing how it plays out is Project Upload, and seeing people capturing their gameplay and then sharing that with their friends. I'm sure you guys see it, like the sharing of game clips and the virality of that, not only for the creators but also for gamers, and I'll call them kind of game celebrities, has become more and more important. And the game DVR functionality through Project Upload and Xbox One, I think, could be a real interesting outlet for many people to share their thoughts on games or their best moments in games. If I just want to simply play a game like Brothers and have an amazing time, or Limbo, another one of my all-time favorites, we remain committed to that as a first party. Now, it's definitely true that some of those games, if you have a connection, might actually take advantage of that in some way. And I don't see that as a bad thing. But the heart and soul of the game, sitting as a single-player game, is critical to any game, whether it's Rise. I mean, even a game like Forza with 16-player multiplayer, if pulling the gas trigger and hitting the brake trigger and steering doesn't feel great, whether I'm connected or disconnected, the game's going to fail. You always start with that kind of 5 seconds of fun, and does that really work with the controller in my hand? And that's critical to exactly what we're trying to build with our first-party lineup. Having great single-player games for people that are disconnected, maybe purely disc-based customers, it'll be a huge part of our business. Will continue to be that, and we're signing games today where the heart and soul of that game is an offline experience. Like I said, if there are connected experiences they want to augment in the gameplay itself, I think that's great. But so many games really live or die based on how much fun I have with the controller in my hand, staring at the screen and having that great single-player experience.